Today we are featuring 3 stories. The first 2 are completely ridiculous urban legends, so I love them. Rednecks like to retell the first one and laugh until they lose their remaining tooth. Forgive me for that. It starts with a phone call. Hello, is this the sheriff's office? Yes. I'm calling to report about my neighbor, Virgil Smith. He's hiding drugs inside his firewood. Immediately, 12 deputies descended on Virgil's house. They searched the shed where the firewood was kept and, using axes, broke open every piece of wood. But they found nothing and left. Later, the phone rang at Virgil's house. Hey, Virgil, this here's Floyd. Did the sheriff come? Yeah. Did they chop your firewood? Yeah. Happy birthday, buddy. And they all sat around the fire. Get some marshmallows. Our second story takes place in Italy, where an old Italian gentleman lives alone. Spring arrives and he wants to plant his annual garden, but the ground is rock hard. It's tough work for an old guy. His only son, Vincent, has always done it for him, but the poor boy has been wrongly arrested and thrown into prison. So he writes his son a letter describing his predicament. Dear Vincent, I'm feeling pretty sad because it looks like I won't be able to plant my tomato garden this year. I'm just getting too old to be digging up a garden plot. I have money for seeds, but that's all. I know if you were here, my troubles would be over. I know you'd dig the plot for me, like you did in the good old days. Love, Papa. A few days later, he receives a letter from his son. Dear Papa, it reads, please don't dig up that garden. That's where I buried the diamonds. Love, Vinny. Within hours, the police arrive and dig up the entire area without finding a single diamond. They apologize to the old gentleman and leave. Soon he receives another letter. Dear Papa, go ahead and plant those tomatoes now. It's the best I could do under the circumstances. Love, your son, Vinny. Well, from the ridiculous to the sublime, here's a true story from my friend Ron, who travels the world with the Billy Graham organization. Each day, the staff meets for a time of prayer and something from the Bible that will excite them and keep them on track through the long hours and challenges ahead. One day, Billy's son Franklin told them of a visit to America's deadliest prison, the Louisiana State Penitentiary, where the warden Burl Cain offered him a tour. All these men will die here, Cain said. Of the 5,108 inmates, 3,700 are serving life sentences, and the others an average of 88 years each. In the shop, he showed Franklin inmates building simple birch plywood caskets that they would be buried in. Struck by the simplicity and beauty of the caskets, Franklin said, "This is symbolic of my parents' lives." He was speaking, of course, of Billy Graham and his wife, Ruth. "This is what they would want to be buried in. I'd like to order 2. Well, Cain was astonished and he offered to build with richer materials. No, said Franklin, build them as if they were for inmates. A few days after celebrating her 87th birthday, Ruth Graham's family stood around her bedside singing Great is Thy Faithfulness as she passed into the presence of Jesus. Ruth Bell Graham, this amazing woman, was buried in a simple wooden box handcrafted by death row inmates. And I love that story. Ruth Graham's books were read in our house. They included one called Sitting by My Laughing Fire. She was once asked if she ever thought of divorcing her husband, Billy. She said, "No, but I did think of murder a few times." Her legacy was not buried with her. It lives on in the eternal investments she made, in the footprints she left. You know, we can do the same today. Whether we're parenting or chopping wood or planting tomatoes, let's take one step at a time in the footprints of Jesus. Such a life is of far greater worth than any diamonds you'll find buried in a tomato plot. Maybe you're wondering how long I've been in this white room. They won't let me out till you push that subscribe button. Please, please. Ah!